Check out this monster beast, 6.7 liters of full-on diesel engine.
Yeah, this thing is 1,100 pounds and looks the part, but this thing is a contender. Literally 440 horsepower, 860 foot-pounds of torque. This thing can pull mountains.
Yeah. Now, back in the day, the 7.3 used to be what was the king,
hey,
right?
I had one of those, had the 525 foot-pounds of torque sticker on it. I thought that motor was top dog.
We all did. I remember going to lunch every day in my buddy's truck, pointing at that sticker. We thought we were cool, man.
Yeah, well, Ford kind of came with a whole new platform, right?
Yeah, so International supplied engines up to 2010 for Ford. So the 7.3, the 6-liter, the 6.4, well, Ford kind of surprised everybody in 2011. They came out with their own clean sheet, designed in-house, 2011 6.7-liter engine, right, making monster power and torque. 390, 735 foot-pounds out of the box.
Yeah, man, out of the box on a new prototype build. Believe me, when they knocked on the door, they came with an attitude. Chevy and Dodge tried to wick their old school builds up, but couldn't come close to what this thing's putting down.
So the competition came out a little bit higher. Ford kind of laughed and said, all right, 400, 800, how's that?
Yeah,
right?
Easy peasy.
It didn't stop there, because this is the 2015 brand new, right? You can't even get one of these because they're flying off the dealer lots. Every engine's going in a truck. But we pulled some strings. Actually, those snapped. We pulled ropes, chains,
lasso.
Yeah, everything we could to get one of these. This 2015 actually came from the lobby of Ford Powertrain because it's the only one that was available that we could tear down and show you guys the inside out.
And that's what we're going to do. You're tired of looking at it. Let's tear into it. First thing we got to address is get off this crankcase oil vent separator, and then the fuel filter is easy to get to as well. Kevin's handling the EGR system. Pull that cooler off. Now I'm going to tackle part of this Fiat system with the alternator and the front brackets. All right, just getting these water pumps off. Now understand, this is a big guy. Keeping it cool is a big job. So we have two completely different water pumps. Primary water pump, it's going to handle things like the block, the head, the turbocharger. Secondary water pump, it's like the EGR cooler, the air to coolant cooler, and so forth. So 10 plus gallons of coolant running through this big guy.
Yeah, well, now that we've got a lot of this stripped off, you can kind of see the layout of the land. Now, Ford did something unique. It turned the whole world upside down, or in this case, the engine inside out.
Yeah.
So it started with the idea of you got a single turbo sitting in the valley. Well, normally you got exhaust running out here. You're fighting for space, all this heat coming up the firewall, coming back to the turbine, back in here, getting that thing spooled up. Then you got your downpipe trying to fight for the same space, coming all the way down. You got all that volume, all that clutter. Well, Ford thought, well, if I got all this heat sitting right here to the turbo, why don't I flip the heads around, flow the intake to the outside, and the exhaust to the inside, right to the turbo?
Yeah, who does that? Who puts the exhaust inboard? Who puts the air coming down on the bottom of the head?
Well, when we walk through, you'll see that it makes total sense. It starts to really enable a lot of really cool stuff in the way that they packaged it. Now, let me show you a little bit up here. We've got our inlet here to the compressor, right? So this is the turbo. Air filter comes right in like this. So that feeds into the turbo, outside, compressed, feeds over the charge air cooler, then back in again. So this is what's going to get fed into the engine. But if you notice on this side, the cooler, the EGR cooler is sitting here. So it's feeding EGR. So that's burnt gas. It's inert. So what that does is lower your emissions. If you cool that inert gas, right, and you put it in there when you're doing combustion, it cools the temperatures down, less NOx gases. Well, it's got to come in here and somehow mix. So let me show you this lower intake, right? So here it is without the throttle on here. Now normally you don't really need a throttle on a diesel, but modern diesels use it to control some pressure buildup so you can get EGR to flow and etc. So with the EGR coming in here, right, we got the compressed gas coming in here. This is actually a mixer. So the EGR comes out behind here, swirls around, mixes, comes out, feeds the intake, which now that intake splits, feeds through the rocker cover. So this is the lower intake feeding the ports on the outside.
It's unbelievable when you really think about it. The air comes over top and in this side, exhaust is inboard. It's just crazy.
Yeah, another reason, and we'll show you a little bit as we get down deeper, right? You've got push rods coming up to actuate all your rocker arms.
Right.
Well, we've got 4 push rods because we got 4 valves. How are you going to get a good port through there?
Clearance.
Put it on the outside, right? So we're going to pull a little bit more of this apart, let you see down deeper some of the other enabling features of this inside-out motor. Hey, welcome back. And we've got our second gen 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel from Ford.
Yeah,
here.
man, this thing is unbelievable. Just standing by it, my beard's grown a ½ inch in 10 minutes.
Now, this is a treat because this is brand new 2015 stuff. Nobody's really seen the insides yet. Now, we're going to show you again. This is that CP4 fuel pump we talked about, up to 30,000 PSI of fuel pressure, feeding a common rail, feeding these injectors. So this is the new style injector.
That's a piezo?
Yeah, piezo injector.
Now, unlike the Huey injectors on my 7.3, it's oil fed and it gets a signal from the FICM, the fuel injection control module, right? Gets a little signal, opens that up. These guys are a whole completely different animal.
Yeah, this is a stack of piezo crystals, whatever that is. But once you energize
something from
them,
The Hobbit, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But once you energize that stack, it grows. And so it opens the needle and seat, lets the fuel out. Well, what's cool about it is it's so fast that you can do multiple shots per stroke, per cycle. So up to 5 different shots of fuel, very precisely controlled.
Okay, you ready for this? Ready for this?
Remember,
Watch
this is the valve cover / intake manifold.
All right, so the air's coming through here, comes down here. Watch this, ready? Oh. All right. Look at that.
So you can see where it's feeding out here, transferring into the cylinder head.
Right, down on this side. I know what you do, like, right?
Let's pull this gasket out of the way. Okay, this gives a better shot in here. So
look at this. All right, here's the oiling manifold, right? So this is going to spray oil, cool off the rocker arms, cool off the springs. Conical springs, see that? Kind of cool.
Yeah, now one thing that's kind of unique. Now this engine is built for robustness, right? As we get deeper and deeper into this thing, the structure is unbelievable. So one thing that makes this thing durable is it's not 4 head bolts per cylinder, but 6.
Right.
So if you see them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 underneath the pedestal, so that's going to seal that head gasket, keep it nice and strong.
A ton of clamping force per cylinder equals more boost, more air, more power.
Yeah.
And you get in this thing, like he said, structurally, it's just unreal.
Now let's show you something totally unique, completely patented by Ford. Now this is a 4-valve, which is not unique for a diesel. But normally you can't get 4 lobes on a cam and 4 massive roller tappets and 4 push rods. Yeah. We'll show you how they did it inside in a minute. But if you look, we've got these blade style arms. Well, the whole combustion chamber is rotated. Because how do you get arms over and across to the intake side or exhaust? We had to rotate it, right? And now you can line them up so it's a little bit diamond shaped, but it also sets up the ports so you can have a nice flow dump port and a swirl port so you can get the right mixture motion in the chamber.
Now, Kevin describes it as robust. I describe it as, are you kidding me? Look at the size of these lifters. These things are huge. Now, you pull this out of the cup, right? And it's got, believe it or not, hydraulic adjustable valve lash, right?
Yeah, well, they're lash adjusters. Like normally this is a single roller with a lash adjuster. I mean, you guys have built tons of small blocks, big blocks, with rollers on them. But
Not
you only
that
get
big.
one lash adjuster in the body. Well, in this case, to get 2 push rods, right, packaged in there, they took a solid roller, basically boarded out, and these are individual lash adjusters. So each valve, each arm has complete control on its own circuit, right? A lot of these 4 valves, what they do is they have maybe a single push rod and a single arm trying to operate 2 valves. So you got one arm coming over with a little T-bar and it's pushing down like this. Well, what's to say you got exact motion of those valves, right, when you got this T-bar? So this is a much better, much more control, better performance, better NVH. You can get all your seating of the valves proper. Really cool stuff and an innovative idea on how to package all that.
Yeah, you see some of that. You see the cups in the LS, but not the adjustable valve lash like that with 2 per lifter. It's just awesome.
Hey, welcome back. We've got our second gen 6.7 liter Power Stroke engine from Ford, and we are tearing this thing apart.
Oh yeah, here we go. Inside the cylinders. Now, first thing right out of the gate I notice is that the combustion chamber here is flat, right? Most time, and this isn't specific to a lot of diesels, but on gas motors, you see that all caved out. You see a nice little combustion chamber. Now, this is where the fuel injector is going to ride. And this little glow plug here, these guys go from ambient temperature, whatever's in the cylinder, to 2,000 degrees in 2 seconds, man.
2,000 degrees Fahrenheit in 2 seconds. So that's for all that cold start when you don't have enough heat for that compression ignition. Now, if we look over here on the cylinder, it's a little bit hard to see because it's got a lot of burnt gases on there, but there's a bowl shape in here. So that injector tip is kind of sitting right in there, spraying out almost radially, pretty much aimed right at that little crease there in the bowl. And what happens then, of course, in a diesel engine is you've got tons of air in there, EGR, you got all kinds of stuff in there. But once that fuel sprays, and once those sprays shear out and find an oxygen molecule, if it's hot enough and the temperature, you know, is at the right point, it'll self-ignite. And so all the stuff starts to burn.
Awesome.
Let's go back in time a little bit and show you the most simple diesel engine, right?
This is awesome.
Now this is just a cotton ball. So I pulled off a little piece and you can see it sitting in there. And all this is a cylinder and a plunger, and I'm going to push our fuel down towards the bottom a little bit.
There it is.
All right, now all I'm going to do is compress it just like the diesel engine.
Watch this.
You guys ready? Here we go. Boom! That was a cotton ball with a plunger.
That's a burnout for a wagon.
So that's exactly how this diesel engine is running, just maybe with a little bit more technology and a little more consistent fuel.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, now check out this video we got from our friends in Denmark. This is some research kind of development. So there's a camera mounted in the bottom of this cylinder, and you can see there's actually two shots. So you see a pilot shot, and you can see it start to burn on the edges, and then you can see a main shot. So that pilot shot gets the temperature a little hotter, and then when that main shot happens, you're in higher compression. You can even see some of that flame wiggling around from some of the compression there at the end. That's pretty awesome stuff. Now, inside that cylinder, if you don't have enough heat to get that compression ignition going on, again, you got that glow plug. So that's going to get really, really hot during a cold start. And you can see some videos we got from Bosch. Pretty neat. On the left side, it's a little bit too cold on the glow plug and the cylinder temperature versus the right side where you got really great burn. And as you work your way to the left, just incomplete. You're not going to get that good combustion. Obviously, you're not going to run well, and your emissions are going to be, in the tank. Really cool technology that is going into all this stuff to keep the NOx down, the soot levels down, keep these things clean diesel so we can go out there and make those huge torque numbers. Hey, welcome back. We're still diving deep into our second gen 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel.
What an awesome motor.
Yeah. Now this is the down deep into the valley. Now this is not just a cast iron block. This is CG iron, compacted graphite. So this is super strong, the toughest stuff you can get, this is what NASCAR runs.
Dude, it's so tough, Chuck Norris kicked it and he dislocated his shoulder.
That's right. Now you can see the pedestal mount here for the turbo. It's got an integral oil feed, a coolant feed, because it's got to cool that center section, and it's got a drain that'll go down the back, not dump that frothy oil on the camshaft.
So no plumbing, no hoses like you see in a typical turbo. It's all in this pedestal mount right here, increases rigidity as well. Now this is an older setup. This is a 12. Now this is a dual boost variable geometry turbo. And what that means really is got a compressor wheel here. On the back side of that compressor wheel is another compressor wheel. So there's two of them that share the same common shaft. Pretty cool, but they improved it for 2015.
Yeah, now, so in 11 when they came out with this is the greatest technology. And a lot of this design was to get instant throttle response, right, the transient, and to drive a lot of EGR, right? They had to get the pressure balance right to get the EGR and hit the emissions. Well, right out of the gate, Brett Hayek went out, took the 2011, threw a big turbo on it, pretty much a stock engine with some extra fuel, and ran over 180 miles an hour on the salt flats.
Yeah, at Bonneville. Ooh, home away from
the record away.
I think Ford might have been watching because they said, it can handle a bigger turbo really easy. Bam, the 2015 shows up with a big breather on it.
So this is what came off of here, and this is inside. So you can see if we put them next to each other, the compressor wheel, much bigger.
Yeah.
Same thing on the turbine side. So the map on this thing, you think about a prop. So riding a prop, if you put too much power on the wrong prop, it'll cavitate.
Right.
So this has a much bigger area, that you're not going to cavitate, and it's got a much extended, far end of boost. So if you got high altitudes where the air is thin, there's a lot more turbo there to push the air in and still make the same power.
Yeah, and then other tricks on the back side of it, the VGT part, which is overwhelmingly cool because at low RPMs, these guys close, you get all the energy and heat, you get a great spool up. Big trick right here.
Yeah, so your turbine's here, right? You're coming in. Actually, we'll spin this guy around. So you can see how you're spiraling around, and you're coming in here. Now these guys, they're little airfoils. And if I actuate them, I can open it up, make big power. I can close them off and get the energy squeezing between them higher to really get this thing kicked off. At low speeds, I can close them off, and I can get energy squirting in between them, like putting your thumb on a water hose, and really get this thing to spool up quick. or I can use it to create back pressure for like an engine brake,
Yeah.
kind of like a Jake brake on a big semi-truck.
Oh, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, so a little racer guy out there
Yeah.
making huge power, kind of showing everybody what's hidden in there that
Yeah.
Ford is just teasing everybody with by dialing it up. Here's one of those dials.
Believe me, we just touched on it, but these guys could turn it up, wick it up, and beat you up.
Yeah.